Hello again, this is Alister McGrath at Oxford University, and in this talk I want to look at what's sometimes called the warfare or the conflict model of the relation of science and faith. It's quite familiar if you read people like Richard Dawkins or Christopher Hitchens, who are celebrity atheist writers who just see science and religion as being permanently, essentially and necessarily at war with each other. And I used to think that too back in the late 1960s when I was told by my rationalist friends that if I loved the sciences, I had to fight religion. Okay, look, I was only 16 then, and I was very impressionable, and I have moved on since then. And here's the point I want to make. Since about 1990, the scholarly understanding of the historical relationship of science and religion has undergone what I can only describe as an intellectual revolution. And the London historian of science, Thomas Dixon, now argues, following the literature widespreadly accepted, the idea that the war between science and religion is a myth invented by Enlightenment rationalists in the late 1700s. It was then developed by Victorian freethinkers in the late 1800s, and really it's defended today by scientific atheists who actually don't know very much about history. And for Dixon, the myth of the warfare of science and religion is basically a piece of intellectual junk. There are better options available. So what might those be? Well, let's look at them. And really we're looking at scholarship since 1990. And in a series of works focusing particularly on the 19th century, the Oxford scholar John Hedley Brooke has argued that serious scholarship in history of science has revealed, and I quote, so extraordinarily rich and complex a relationship between science and religion in the past that general theses are difficult to sustain. The real lesson turns out to be the complexity. Now, I appreciate people like things to be simple, but you see, in this case, they're not. Brooke has said things are complex, and that analysis has found widespread support throughout the scholarly community. For example, the Australian scholar Peter Harrison has pointed out, and again I quote, the study of the historical relations between science and religion doesn't reveal any simple pattern at all. It certainly doesn't reveal the mythical conflict narrative, but there is, Harrison suggests, a general trend that most of the time, not all of the time, most of the time, religion has actually encouraged scientific inquiry. For example, back in the 18th century, many members of the Royal Society of London, that was founded to advance scientific understanding and research, were actually strongly religious in their outlooks. They saw their religious faith as enhancing their commitment to scientific advancement. And many of them used the metaphor of God's two books. We'll look at this later in this series, but it's a very powerful image. It argues that nature and the Bible are both somehow authored by God and disclose God in different ways. And the key point is, if you read these together side by side, you see things in greater depth than you otherwise would do. Now, all of this changed in the final quarter of the 19th century. But not as you might think because of the publication of Charles Darwin's Origin of Species in 1859. The real issue happened later than that. Historians now argue that this very strongly negative attitude was established by some popular American polemical books from the final quarter of the 19th century. For example, Andrew Dixon White's 1896 book, The Warfare of Science with Theology. Now, if you've read that book, you know it's very aggressively anti-religious. It's also littered with factual errors, many of which, unfortunately, continue to be repeated today in popular atheism, despite long being discredited by scholarship. So what does the scholarship actually say? Well, the basic point is that the popular notion of a protracted war between the church and science that you still find referenced today actually is a piece of Victorian propaganda. And sure, you find this in Christopher Hitchens or Richard Dawkins, but actually most historians wouldn't agree. They would regard religion as having had a generally positive and constructive relationship with the natural sciences in Western culture. Now, sure, there were tensions and conflicts. You might think of the Galileo controversy. But one of the points I need to make here is that very often something that looks as if it might be a controversy about science or religion is actually a controversy about something else, like, for example, papal politics, ecclesiastical power struggles, or personality issues. And I think we need to say very, very clearly there is no universal pattern for the relationship of science and religion, either theoretically or historically. Sure, there are tensions or points, but there are also synergies and complementarities at others. So why did this conflict myth become so influential in the late 19th century? Well, historians tell us it reflects changes in Western culture during the second half of the 19th century. Scientists were then emerging as a professional group, and they wanted to establish their independence, their autonomy from other established groups like the church, for example. And many of the clergy of the day were interested in science. In fact, many of the leading scientists actually were clergy. But clearly there was a need to put professional distance between the church and the scientific establishment. And that meant that changes in academic culture meant that science had to demonstrate its independence from the church and also from other bastions of the establishment. And some, not the majority, but some campaigners portrayed the church as the opponent of learning and scientific advance, which the sciences, of course, tried to advocate. Now, that idea was invented, I have to say, simply to meet a social need. And it does linger on in works of popular science and journalism. But the point here is scholarship doesn't take this seriously anymore. And we all know how long it takes for serious scholarship to trickle down to the popular level. But actually, it's not just historians who regard this warfare model as outdated and implausible. Most scientists don't see things this way either. After surveying the views of contemporary scientists, the Rice University sociologist Elaine Howard Eklund concluded, and I quote, that the insurmountable hostility between science and faith is a caricature, a thought cliché, perhaps useful as a satire on groupthink, but hardly representative of reality. But actually, Howard makes another point which is really interesting. This myth about the warfare of science and religion seems to be not simply an invention, but a Western invention. You just don't find it in other cultures like India or China or Japan. And the truth is that the relationship between science and religion has always been complex. There is no single master narrative which can adequately define their relationship. Sure, some see science and religion as being opposed. Some see them as separate areas of reflection and thought. Some see them as leading to an interesting and productive dialogue, and I'm in that group. Because despite the fact that I used to be a rather dogmatic atheist, I now see science and religion as capable of engaging in an interesting and productive dialogue. If you like, they give us different lenses through which we can see our world. So, what sort of critical and constructive dialogues am I talking about? Well, let's begin by exploring the very interesting idea that science and religion provide us with different maps of reality. And we're going to look at this very helpful idea in the next presentation. So thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to speaking to you again very soon.